Hey everybody, Master Adam Grogin here, and in this episode of Breaking Science, we're going to explore some really exciting content. Often in martial arts training, instructors teach students how to condition their body. Sometimes they call it body hardening. There's different terms used, but by toughening the body, we can turn the body into armor. And if my body is stronger and impermeable to attacks, that just helps my ability to be able to defend myself. I know this is a more ancient way of looking at combat and fighting in martial arts, but it still exists in martial arts in this day and age. Now, a lot of that mentality and training can transition into training for breaking, because not only do I need to protect my body from attack when I am learning to protect myself, but when I'm breaking materials, those materials are often hitting me back. Heck, breaking is just testing my strength and abilities of my technique and the rigidity of my body. So body hardening conditioning techniques and process is really also needed for breaking. Early on in my martial art breaking training, my mentors taught me how to condition my body to strengthen my bones, as they told me, to make me impermeable to damage from breaking and from being injured breaking, and to make my bones stronger so that I would be a successful breaker. They taught me about something that I ultimately discovered was called Wolff's Law. Wolff's Law is a medical law from Dr. Wolff in the 1800s, who basically, from my layman's understanding, said that if you put stress on a bone non-stop, constantly, every day, that bone would have to adapt or evolve to become stronger to be able to survive, to be able to protect the body, to be able to serve its function. Now, you don't want to put too much stress on that bone, because too much stress would break the bone, and that was bad. So my mentors in breaking taught me lots of different techniques so that I could condition my body through striking hard but soft surfaces, and you'll see an array of different techniques that I do here where I'm not breaking my bones, I'm not hurting myself, but I am striking hard surfaces to stress my bones on a regular basis to build rigidity, or at least I hope I am, to make my bones stronger for breaking. In the last 10 years that I started teaching breaking around the world and teaching people different breaking techniques, I thought it was really important to be well-rounded and make sure that besides teaching breaking techniques, I'm also teaching people the importance of conditioning the body. Because without a conditioned body, you may have a successful break, but you could hurt yourself. It's very important to me for safety and well-being with the practice of breaking. And it's a lesson that goes hand in hand with good breaking technique. So I went on to repeat Wolff's Law to hundreds of thousands of people all around the world, assuming and hoping that my understanding of it was true. But I wanted to find out for certain from a medical professional, since it's a medical law, am I correct with my interpretation? Am I correct with what I'm learned from my masters and my mentors about what's happening? And is it really happening? Is it an old wives' tale? Or am I really strengthening my bones through the conditioning that I'm doing? As far as I know, nobody in martial arts has really explored the medical side of this to see if it's true and if it's really working. So this video is about my journey to share with you about finding out the validity of Wolff's Law. My journey to find out if Wolff's Law had any validity to my martial arts breaking led me to the Albany Med College, part of the Albany Med Health System. So I'm really lucky right now to be joined by Dr. Richard Ewell from Albany Med Health System, the Chair of Orthopedic Surgery. Thank you so much for being here with me today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So when I first reached out to you and I mentioned that I break bricks as a martial artist, that I'm sure you don't hear that every day. What were your thoughts about that?
Well, first thing I looked at your forehead to see whether you're breaking them with your head or with something else. Because the head I can't help you. Arms I can help you. Feet I can help you, not the arm, not the head.
Excellent, excellent. So as we talked a little bit before this, and you know, I'm very interested in Wolff's Law. I've vaguely at a layman's level learned about it from my martial art mentors over the years, and I really wanted to get an expert's opinion. To break down, what it actually is for our viewers, what would you describe, Wolff's Law as?
Well, Wolff's Law is a little bit use it or lose it. And it has many different manifestations. One of them is up in space, weightlessness. If you're not putting loads on the bones, what happened to the bones? They start dissolving, start getting softer or weaker. What you were referring to, I think, is if you put extra stress on the bones, are you going to see a reaction in the other direction, meaning more bone, more strength, the body responds? And the answer is yes. It goes both ways.
Excellent. So for my conditioning routine and what I've learned over the years that help make my body stronger or safer for breaking or better at breaking is I do repetitive conditioning, as we call it, where I will do my striking techniques with the striking surface of my body against soft but hard surfaces. I know it doesn't make sense, soft but hard, but I won't hit the brick wall, but I'll put a hard pad in front of the brick wall. So I feel the wall, and I'll do it every single day. And I'm under the impression that if I do this often enough, I might make my bones stronger. Obviously, foreshadowing, we have some x-rays up here, but had we not got to this point, if I came to you and told you that, what would be your opinion on the effectiveness of that kind of routine?
Well, not knowing anything about breaking things with your arms, I would assume you got a couple different considerations. First is you don't want to break your skin. So I would guess, like a guitar player, you'd have to build up some calluses or some toughness in the skin. The first couple times you break it, you get some bruising. Then you got the tissue beneath the skin, and then you get to the bone. Then you get the ligaments around the joint. So all of them have to be strong. And I would do it exactly what you're doing, where you start at more intense than you would have in an everyday situation, but not your maximum intensity. Once you exceed that threshold, then the bone or the skin or the ligament breaks. You want to build it up so that you can get Wolff's Law, hopefully, to give you extra bone, extra tissue, so that you'll be able to go to your ultimate load that you want to break.
That sounds great. And I mean, obviously the only way to really tell if it's effective was to go to the x-rays. So you sent me to get some x-rays. I mean, at this point, I've been doing martial arts for about 40 years, but my serious breaking, I started about 16, 17 years ago, is when I met the current mentors that I have now that taught me more serious power breaking and concrete breaking and started my conditioning routines. So I'm about 17 years in now. And so you sent me to get some x-rays, and we had to get both sides to compare them.
Well, because you mostly break just on the one side, okay?
Which is kind of not what I'm supposed to do. I really should be ambidextrous. I should be breaking with both sides equally as a martial artist.
But then we wouldn't have a comparison.
We wouldn't have a comparison. So I did this for the benefit of the science, sir.
And for the audience.
For the audience. Yes. That's why for 17 years I didn't break as much. Yes. I have a little bit with my left when I have to, but my right is my better one. And when I compete, I chose my better arm to compete with. So we do have differences here we can look at.
Yeah.
So what do we see, I guess?
Well, so I suspected we would see a difference, and I think we do. Now, understand, we have something in medicine we call bias, and so I may be reading into this a little bit more, wanting to show you what you think you're going to see. But this is your right side. This is the side you're breaking with. First of all, you got a little something here. I don't know if that's a little chip you got at some point or a little piece of brick or something that's in there. But if you look at it right across here, that's your cortex. That's the main strength of your bone. And that's exactly, I'm assuming you're hitting right in here, right?
Right here, sir.
Yeah, and that's exactly. So your cortex on the right side is very thick, much thicker than I would normally expect to see. Your left side over here, I think you can see the cortex not nearly as thick. It's not nearly, I tried to match up the x-rays for what we call density and everything. It's not perfect. And then your medullary canal, which is the space between the cortices, I think is a little thinner on this side because you got more cortex, and you got a little more medullary canal on this side because you have a little less cortex. So to me, this shows that there's a difference between the two. If I just saw one side, maybe I wouldn't pick it up, but that's why I sent you back to get the other side so we could really compare the two of them. And I think I see a difference.
That's great. And I think the key takeaway is I'm probably on the right path, but the reason I've been okay is I've been careful not to break that bone.
Right. If you exceed the strength, even with your thicker cortices, you're going to break it.
Right.
I mean, you get to a point, and then the bone breaks. So you can get up there, and then it can't take it anymore. So you want to build it up, get it stronger before you get to that point.
That makes perfect sense, sir. That sounds fantastic. So there is a similar law. This Wolff's law is for bones.
Correct.
And then we also have our soft tissue in there. That is Davis's law?
Yes.
And how do you feel that plays into this whole situation now that we're talking about?
So I don't know Davis's law specifically for breaking,
Yep.
okay, but in general, I mean, any sport, martial arts in particular, you're going to have injuries, you're going to have rehabilitation, you're going to have conditioning, all the stuff you've talked about. So Davis's law basically is the same thing but with soft tissue. So soft tissue is going to react in the direction that it's being stressed. So for instance, tendons stress and tension. If you have a tendon that is not being tense when you're using it, or injury, or it's been in a cast, then that tendon's going to be weaker. If you have injury to the ligaments around a joint and you're not moving the joint, those ligaments are going to sort of tighten up and not have the same functional tissue. It needs to have the motion in the correct direction, not you know, if you're a knee, you want to bend and straighten. You want to be going off to the side. You go off to the side, you damage. You bend and straighten, you strengthen. So that's what Davis's law would do.
Which is good because, in my opinion, I thought I could strengthen those a little bit because they hold things in alignment that make my techniques proper. Punches for us, we want to make sure that the fist's in the right spot and not up or down. So we're looking to strengthen those soft tissues there, and we believe we're doing that. So that is a possibility. The more we punch and these things are holding everything tight in alignment, they could be strengthening to hold that stuff in alignment.
Right, and it's even more than that because the muscles, which then turn into tendons, you need to have them to protect the bone. Okay, if your muscles, so I don't know, you have days-long tournaments. When do you see more injuries, in the beginning or at the end when everyone's fatigued?
So a little bit of both. You're right. The end or when there's longer ones, absolutely. Unfortunately, with breaking, sometimes the injury is at the point of impact. But one recent injury I had that was just a muscle one was a whole day of competing, but it was on and off. I was warmed up, I did a break, they had the doors open, it was in Ireland. It was really cold, so I cooled down, warm up again. The last break of the day I was bouncing and I pulled a calf muscle from the cooling off and heating up. Yeah. So that fatigue, you're right.
Yeah, so more injuries usually happen with the fatigue.
Yeah.
You know, especially bones breaking, because you need the muscles to sort of counteract the stresses across them, not necessarily breaking items, but sports, and I would imagine with kicking and stuff like that, that is part of your field as well.
So when I'm thinking about everything we're talking about, we focus this one on an easy target, which is my arm, where I do the most concrete breaking. We have a handful, not too many, of contact points that we use for breaking that are the most successful. So the elbow is one. A shin is another very popular one, which I would imagine is similar in the type of bone that we have here. An interesting one we do is I do a downward one here, and I'm mainly breaking, I believe, with my muscle here. There is a bone there, but I don't feel the bone contact the way I feel the tricep tendon striking. We have punches, and we have a lot of, with the bottom here, which is interesting because the fifth metacarpal is a fragile bone that breaks kind of often. I'm hoping or assuming that the muscle I've built here is what's protecting that bone when I do a lot of this breaking.
So the fifth metacarpal, it's funny because they call it a boxer's fracture.
Yes.
But it's someone who's using the wrong technique. Okay, which it's not that the bone's inherently weak, it's you need the right technique. Same with anything you're doing with the breaking. If you have the wrong technique, you're going to have damage. You have the right technique, you protect it. Now the muscle that's over, it's going to protect it some too for a direct blow like you're describing.
Excellent. And really with all of those different contact points, the bones can react really in the same way if they went through the same kind of, I guess, different bones in the body, they all would fall under the same circumstances of Wolff's law and have the potential? Excellent.
Yeah, it's not Wolff's selective law, it's Wolff's law in general. But the weight-bearing bones, and so you're turning the ulna, which is not normally a weight-bearing bone, into a weight-bearing bone by what you're doing, and it's responding.
Interesting. So, unfortunately, in the breaking world, not everybody has a good mentor, not everybody has a good instructor, and they don't always do this conditioning, or they do it wrong. what's the best way to handle for anybody listening or watching that does get injured from this?
Well, so you can't cheat Mother Nature, okay? And if you break a bone, except for some very rare circumstances, the bone will heal. And it takes time. And if you don't give it time to heal and then restart the whole process, restart the stretching and the strengthening and the building up, you're just going to break it again. So you can't cheat it. Athletes always want to cheat it. They always want to get back in the game. They always want to get back to doing it. You can't cheat it. Got to give it time and go slow with it, and just a little bit more, and a little bit more, and don't exceed that threshold.
So obviously martial arts is deeply rooted in Asian culture, and there's a lot of different methodology, and Eastern medicine is different than Western medicine in some ways. In a lot of Chinese martial art culture, there is a thing called ditjiao, which is a liniment. And they do something called iron palm training or iron fist training. And basically what they do is they take this herbal liniment, they rub it on their hands or on their areas, and then they do the conditioning routine. And they believe that the liniment is doing something to encourage the body to do what we want it to do with the conditioning and the hardening or the growth. How do you feel hearing that?
Well, there's Chinese medicine, Asian medicine has been around for thousands of years. Things don't stay around for thousands of years if there isn't something to it. So look at acupuncture. Okay, I'm sure you have people after a tournament go and get acupuncture. How's it work? I don't have a clue. Does it work? Absolutely. Does it work for everybody the same? No, it doesn't. But I have patients that I can't heal with any Western medicine techniques that go for acupuncture, and it makes them better. The liniment, I mean, there's maybe something in it that's affecting the cells. It may just be the massage. Massage is good. Massage brings blood flow to the areas. Massage helps loosen up tissue, helps you get little focal areas of cramping, like trigger points, a little buildup of lactic acid in there. And the massage helps break that up and distribute it out and all that. So is it the massage? If you use just cocoa butter, would that work the same? I don't know. I mean, there's probably something to it. It wouldn't be around if there wasn't.
That's great to hear. And you brought up another great point. Another great thing my mentors have always shared with me is, like, after a break, after the healing process, we might sometimes feel like there's something hard in there, not painful, but hard. And they've always encouraged me, you gotta massage it, you gotta rub it. They often refer to it as scar tissue. I don't know if that would be a correct term.
That's the term we use.
Is it? Yeah.
I mean, it's localized fibrous tissue. What it is an area that has been damaged, that the body is then healing. The body has a reaction, same as if a bone breaks, there's a reaction to heal the bone. If the soft tissue has been damaged, there's a reaction to heal it. Scar tissue is never the same as regular tissue again, okay? But you can modify the scar tissue with Davis's law and get that to behave as closely to normal tissue as possible. So the massage helps break it down, bring in the blood flow to start the process, sort of tell the scar tissue who's boss, really. And you make it do what you want it to do. What scar tissue wants to do is lay down and contract and make a hard lump. And you don't want it to do that. You want to stretch it out. Stretching's always good. I'm sure you all stretch before you do stuff. I mean, stretching gets the muscles pulling apart so they're not all cramped up, and it distributes the tension. And so the massaging helps break it up. Basically, the way I tell my patients, you tell the scar who's boss. And it's not the scar bossing you, you're telling the scar what to do.
I like that. That's really good. So what I'm hearing is, after a good break or a bad break or whatever, obviously if there's swelling, you want to ice a little bit or something, get that swelling down, but then the constant massage, the conditioning, whether you use a liniment or you use cocoa butter or something, just massaging that scar tissue, encouraging that there, getting the swelling down is the best way to recover after a break if there is anything.
Yeah, massage is very healthy. Okay, the cold with an acute type injury is good. After about 72 hours, 48, 72 hours, the warmth helps bring in the blood flow. You don't ever want to put warm on an acute injury. You may think it feels good, but it just brings in more inflammation, and you don't want to do that.
Acute meaning new, recent?
Within 24, 48 hours.
Going way back, I took sports medicine in college, and I remember the way I remembered this, and I'm curious if I'm still correct because I repeat it to my students, is when we have an injury, we vasodilate for blood to go there to heal.
Yep.
Too much blood going there creates the swelling.
Correct.
We put the ice on to vasoconstrict.
Correct.
But if we leave the ice on for more than 20 minutes, our body gets cold, so it opens back up and we counteract it.
Yeah, I mean, they say 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. I think you sort of see how it feels, but
Yep.
but the whole process, the body isn't always smart. So scar tissue is obviously good in that it closes up a hole. Scar tissue is bad in that it gets tight and doesn't do what you want it to do. And so sometimes inflammation is good because you can't heal without inflammation, but inflammation becomes bad when it takes over the joints and they're stiff and you can't move and all that. So everything in balance, sometimes you got to help it along a little.
That makes sense. Anything, are you a believer in supplements at all, or anything that an athlete that does this type of thing should do? I mean, obviously as a layman, I think about calcium for bones is something we're taught at a young age to think about that, besides drinking milk or whatever. Or is there any kind of supplement that might help encourage good bone health? Or?
Well, so we live in the Northeast, okay? 100%, okay, 98% of people in the Northeast are vitamin D deficient. We have no sun, and when we go out in the sun, we wear a sun blocker. And we're inside and we're covered up. So almost everyone, every adult should be on vitamin D, especially female that has had a baby or two, breastfed, depletes their calcium. Everyone needs to be on vitamin D. My vitamin D was woefully deficient until I started taking supplements. And that's true of almost everyone in the Northeast. So vitamin D, big fan. General nutrition, big fan. Controlling your sugar, big fan. So all of that's important. When you start, do we need other supplements? Yeah, probably. You know, we don't, I think it depends on how you eat. If you're eating good quality, balanced food, you probably don't. If you're eating processed junk food, you probably do. Magnesium's good for you, zinc's good for you. There's a bunch of things. Multivitamin's not a bad idea at all. I mean, it used to be, well, we're in America, we have plenty of good food. It's not necessarily true.
Interesting. And I think, did I hear before, maybe it was you who told me, that the vitamin D helps us absorb calcium, or is there a relationship between the calcium? Is that what it is?
Yeah, vitamin D and calcium go together. So you can't, vitamin D is a hormone, and it does a lot with the calcium, but the end result is, you don't want too much vitamin D, but you want enough vitamin D. And it's a little hard to get too much. It's very easy to not have enough. So if you take a supplement, they call them IU, international units. If adults are taking 2,000 IU a day, that's probably pretty good.
Excellent.
The 400 that you get with a glass of milk is a little low. You know, one glass of milk is 400 IU of vitamin D. That's a little low. I mean, you'd have to do 5 glasses of milk a day. Which,
a lot of milk.
That's a lot of milk.
Makes sense. Okay. This has been great. I can't thank you so much for joining me on this and going through this experiment with me. And
yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
It was, you know, you don't know exactly what you're going to find, but I think you proved your point.
Thank you.
Know,
I appreciate that.
did.
And then hopefully we educated more people like me and in the community, and that, you know, it's not just a hearsay or a rumor, but there is some validity to what we're doing. And I think that feels good, because a lot of us in martial arts do what we're told by our mentors and our masters for years, and we don't think much about it or know. And I just wanted to validate, and it feels good, and it's cool to see the bones and see the progress. So
good.
thank you very much, sir.
Very good.